Happy Sunday. It is an early Sunday. Well, it's not that early. It's 10 a.m. I just wanted to jump in here. I haven't been live for a while because I've been busy. It's been a crazy week. Some of you have seen the post. I am a granddad now. Little Emily Ray was born on Monday. Everyone's healthy. Everyone's great. I had a chance to finally see her yesterday. They were in the hospital for a little while, so I couldn't get in to see her. Had a chance to see her and hold her. What a beautiful little precious peanut. She's tiny. But hey, I just wanted to jump in here because this question came in and it's timely because of what just transpired. So just recently you may have heard that President Biden signed an extension. If you have student loan payments, now mind you, student loans, we're at like something like $1.7 trillion in student loans. And even if you don't have student loans, this may help you. But the question was, hey, what do we do? You know, originally the freeze on student loan payments was due to expire in September of this year, so next month, and it just got extended to January of 2022. And everything. So, you know, some people have asked, what do I do? Should I make my payments? Should I not make my payments? What happens if they're gonna wipe out up to $50,000? We'll talk a little bit about that, and I do not want to get political on this at all. This is really about your finances. This is really about that. So if you have questions or anything, let me know. Shoot me a comment. I got us live here on Instagram and on Facebook in the groups. If you're in the groups, make sure that you give permission for Restream to show your name. Let me know you're here, and do that. So, like I said, what happened is that when in March of 2020, President Trump signed in a freeze on having to make student loan payments to give some relief to those people that are being affected by the pandemic, and they had these student loan payments. So we didn't have to make the student loan payments, and it was without penalty and that type of thing. It was due to expire next month, yet now it's got extended to the end of January. They've told us that this is the final extension. So at the end of January, beginning in February, if you have student loans, you will have to make those student loan payments according to what they say. And so the question came in through lines from one of the affluencers in the Affluence Nation and from the Affluent Entrepreneur Group about, well, Mel, what should I do? Should I make the payments? Should I stop making payments? Should I keep making payments? What do I do? Well, first things first, let me deal with this question. Let me deal with this question of should I just wait in anticipation that they're going to wipe out the student loans? First off, okay, this is, like I said, I don't want to be political, but I think my dear friend Brian Tracy said it the best. He said, politics, he says, a tick is a parasite that sucks the blood out of you. Paulie means that there's many of them. So to trust your financial future to the politicians to make the right choices and the right decisions, I think is a mistake. To sit back and say, I'm not going to pay in anticipation that they'll wipe it out is a mistake. Also, and this is more of an ethical question, those that have student loans, you signed a responsibility saying you'd be willing to pay them. So I think that we live to that obligation. And if they choose to give you the gift of wiping out the loans, then they choose to give you the gift. But I don't think that we anticipate. I think we walk forward in integrity with the responsibilities and the commitments that we made previously, and we live through it. I know that can be painful, but we made the commitment to these loans. And so I think that we stay the course. If they give you the gift of forgiveness, then so be it. But don't plan on it. Don't plan on it in doing that. So, and Jen, great question. My daughter has college loans, is still in college. How will this affect her, if at all? It probably won't affect her because if she's still in college, she's not in the payment process of the loans at this stage of the game. So there is no freeze that would affect her. So probably won't affect her on this go around, depending when her payments start to kick off. So here's how I would look at this. Is that the first things to think about is this. When we've got this reprieve, if you will, for an extra, say 6 months, now for 4 or 5 months till the end of January. And if you said you were going to have $500 in student loan payments and now you don't have to make the $500 student loan payments because they've frozen them until January, at the end of January 2022, here's how I would look at this. The first thing to look at, number one is that, and those of you that are on Facebook will be able to see this. Number one is I would protect what matters, and this is what I call the four walls. If you happen to be in a situation where you lost your job, if you happen to be in a situation where there's a decline in income, if you happen to be in a situation where you're struggling to make the payments of those things that are absolute needs, when we look at that, this is your transportation, your healthcare, your food, the roof over your head, the shelter, and your clothing, the things that are necessities of life, then I would take that money that you would normally put towards the loans and I would use it to survive until you can get yourself on your feet. So the first place I would allocate these payments is to your survival. Now, notice what I said. Let's get really clear what I said. This is about the needs. So this isn't about using student loan payments to pay for your Netflix addiction, okay? Or those things that are luxuries. This is about paying for those things that are needs in your life, the things that are necessities for you to survive. Your healthcare, like I said, your healthcare, your food, your shelter, your clothing, your transportation, that type of thing, until you get on your feet. So you can use this reprieve of loan payments for that first. The second thing is that now this goes back to something that I teach in the Affluence Blueprint, and what is the foundation of some things we talk about is the wealth priority ladder. The wealth priority ladder has 4 phases. It has seven stages to it. Now, the first phase of the wealth priority ladder is to make sure that you have some breathing room, some comfort. We call it the comfort fund. The way we look at our comfort fund is I want you to have $1,500 in the bank account, the greater of $1,500, or 1 month's expenses. So it's the greater of $1,500 or 1 month's expenses. Because why do I want this to happen? Because if we can get that in place, if something happens, if there's a hiccup, if there's a challenge or anything like that, I'm not choked and I'm not going into debt to try and survive. I'm actually going into a situation where I have a little bit of money to keep me going. So one of the things that I want to do is take those payments. If I have $500 a month and I've already got my survival needs, my needs are met, I have this extra $500 that I don't need to make in student loan payments, then I'm going to take the first 3 months of that, I'm going to put that in to a high yield cash account so I have a comfort fund, something that I have breathing room to move me forward and make that happen. So I want to have at least $1,500 or 1 month's expenses into a comfort fund, and I would use the frozen loan payments to jumpstart that in the process. There's something else you can do to jumpstart that, and this is one of the things that a lot of my clients do. I say, just look around your house. Just look around your house. If I looked around my house, there's a whole lot of electronics and stuff that I'm not using, that I've tested, I didn't like, this and that. And if I took some of those and put them on sale, sold them on offer up, this and that, I could probably get that $1,500. Okay, so there's a couple of different ways, but when we talk about the wealth priority ladder, phase 1 is to make sure that you have 1 month's expenses or $1,500 at your disposal in case you need it, if some emergency, something comes up. The statistics show that the majority of people could not sustain themselves if they had a $1,000 unexpected expense. A transmission goes out, something like that happens. We can't live that way. We're living check to check and beyond check to check. It's time that we sit back and say, how do I do this more responsibly? Now, I'm not saying that this is easy, but it is simple. It's not easy because we have to start being a little more disciplined with the money. So if I have those student loan payments and I don't have to make them, and I don't have a comfort fund of at least 1 month's expenses or $1,500, then we're going to we're going to make that student loan payment to a high yield cash account that's insured, that's fully liquid, no fees. to accumulate at least the $1,500 or 1 month's expenses. Now, so that's number 2 that I would do. Number 3, if I already have a comfort fund, we move to phase 2 of the wealth priority ladder. And phase 2 of the wealth priority ladder focuses on 2 things. And that is, the first is to get yourself out of destructive consumer debt. And the second is to get you into a situation where instead of just having a comfort fund, you have a peace of mind fund. Now, the peace of mind fund is a bigger game. I want 9 to 18 months worth of expenses in the bank account. 9 to 18 months. Now, some people say, oh my gosh, all we need is 3 to 6 months. Well, I think the pandemic showed that 3 to 6 months isn't enough. I've been talking for years, and I've worked with my clients for years, and the Affluence Blueprint for years with people, and said 9 to 18 months, especially if you're an entrepreneur. I want 9 to 18 months. Here's why. The first 3 months, you're freaked out. Let's face it, when we got shut down, there was a lot of people freaked out. The second 3 months, you're finally getting on your feet, and you're starting to analyze and say, what do I do? And it's only in the third 3 months that you start to take action. And so you're 9 months in before you start to really take action, unless you have a prior plan, survival plan in place. And so this is why I say 9 to 18 months. So if you have a comfort fund already, if your necessities are already taken care of, and now you have this reprieve, this freeze on the student loan payments, I want to take those student loan payments and I want to start paying down consumer debt and building my peace of mind fund. So I would take that $500 and I'd either put it all against the consumer debt, or I would split it and put half of it to consumer debt and half to start building the peace of mind fund. The peace of mind fund goes again into a high yield cash account to cover you, so it's liquid and it's not exposed to the equity markets or the stock market or the volatility there. So that's how I would play this out. Then lastly, if your survival is taken care of, if you have a comfort fund in place, $1,500 or greater than 1 month's expenses, if you have no consumer debt, and you have your peace of mind fund in place, then what I would do is I would take those payments and just accumulate it into an account. So when and if the payments start again, you actually have a lump sum that you can go and start paying your student loan payments back. Now, if they decide that they're going to forgive it, then great. But you cannot plan on that occurrence. You cannot decide, I'm going to not pay these student loans because they're going to forgive it. We don't know what the politicians are going to do. They're going to horse trade, negotiate, and do some crazy stuff. And whether that actually gets through or not, who knows? So we can't plan on it. We need to plan based upon the obligations and the responsibilities that we've taken on as individuals. And that responsibility is to sit back and say, I committed to making these loan payments. So we do the things to try and make that happen. And student loan payments, in many cases, they're not bankruptable. You can't get rid of them. So we need to be smart about it. So let me reiterate, let me summarize again. You've got no student loan payments that have to be made until end of January, beginning end of January 2022. So you have 4 or 5 months, 6 months almost of time. Hey, Carlton, so good to see you. To make that happen. Now, with that, what do you do with those student loan payments? First, we make sure that our survival is covered. Second, if our survival is covered, our shelter, our food, our medical, our clothing, our transportation, all that stuff is covered, then we make sure we have a comfort fund. That comfort fund is 1 month's expenses or $1,500, whichever is greater. If that's covered, then we turn around and look at paying down consumer debt and building a peace of mind fund. And if those are covered, and the peace of mind fund is 9 to 18 months, your consumer debt depends on what it is you're doing. If you have consumer debt and you're trying to figure out how to pay it down, I want you to go to melabraham.com/no debt. melabraham.com/no debt. And that will give you a debt breakthrough calculator that you can go put your debt in and schedule it out and figure out what's the cheapest way, what's the fastest way to get the debt paid off and make it happen. And so if you have that, then put the money aside. Because in February, if they don't forgive it, you're going to have to pay it. So be prepared to live up to those obligations. I hope that helps. Hope that gives some guidance as to what to do with this whole thing that just happened. So you've got a reprieve until, if you have student loans, you have a reprieve until basically February 2022. At the end of January 2022, then this freeze goes away. They say it's the final freeze. Who knows? We'll see. And if anything comes up, paid off all outstanding debt. Dude, so good to hear, Rex. So good to hear. Big milestone. Yeah. Once you get, it's interesting. I'd be real curious to hear, Rex, what it felt like to know that debt is off your shoulders, the weight of the debt. Because what we don't think about is the psychological impact, the burden, the tension that's created by having debt. When we have no debt, when we have no debt, we feel freer. We don't feel the burden. If there's a hiccup in income, if there's a challenge in anything, we don't have this burden on us that says, well, I got to make the house payment. I got to make this. I got to make the car payment. Otherwise, I'm going to lose the house. I'm going to lose the car. All those things. There is such a psychological element to debt that we don't think about. We all, and society, the marketers, and I'm a marketer, but not that kind. But the salespeople, they're really good at playing the payment game. Because the payment game is their way to remove the friction from the buying decisions that we have. And so inevitably when you go to buy a car, inevitably when you go to buy something, they say, well, what kind of payment do you want? What kind of payment are you looking for? Well, never, ever, ever. The people that I work with in the Affluence Blueprint or some of my one-on-one clients, they know we never have conversations around the payment because that's playing their game, not our game. We have a conversation. We have a conversation around the value exchange that's going to happen. And we negotiate to that, and how you finance it becomes a personal choice of yours. But we don't give them the tool. We don't give them the leverage to play the payment game on our part. And they love to do that. It started with layaways and then credit cards and all that stuff. Is what they're doing. Understand the psychology behind it. Is they're removing the friction from your buying decision because I can afford that payment. But when you stack payment on payment on payment, all of a sudden that payment keeps coming due, keeps coming due, keeps coming due. It becomes an issue. Yeah, exactly. Rex says he feels amazing and now he's living in financial freedom. Exactly. Completely what I call financially liberated. To feel that burden off your shoulders, to be completely financially liberated, to make things and make decisions effectively now at the speed of cash. So too often when we play the payment game, we overbuy. We overextend ourselves and we don't realize it. Even if you say, well, now I pay my credit cards off every single month. Statistics show that because of the lack of friction in the buying decision, statistics show when you use a credit card, even when you pay it off every month, you will overspend by about 30%. 30%. Now, I do that, not overspending 30%, although some people might say I do. But I pay my credit card, I still use credit cards, but I pay them off every month. Here's the thing that I do. Because I don't want to get caught in an emotional decision to buy something, I will give myself space. I'll put something in the cart and I'll leave it for a day or 2 days. And if I still want it, then I'll go ahead and complete the purchase. Otherwise, I won't. I I will look at it and then I'll ask the question, is this something that I want now? How am I going to feel about this purchase decision? Really, how am I going to feel about this purchase decision in a year, in 3 years, or 5 years? And so if it's not going to continue to provide some value to me, and a lot of times I will scrutinize the purchase decision. So even if you pay your credit cards off every single month, what I would invite you to do is to be critical about the buying decision and do it that way. Okay? This is, I love hearing this, Rex. Rex, you and I are going to have to chat. In fact, I'd love to have a conversation with you. We'll talk offline, and maybe I bring you on the show and we'll do an interview and talk about this journey, this piece of what you did. Because now he's saying, I'm committed to make all purchases from existing cash already in my account. Here's the beautiful thing, as entrepreneurs especially. If you know that you want to make a purchase, you can plan for the purchase. You can build revenue for the purchase. You can bring profits in and say, I'm going to plan for it. Then I go make the purchase with cash. Imagine that. No payments. Free and clear. Okay? You're done. I tend to try and avoid payments of all kinds. I have one payment. It's a relatively low amount of debt on the house. That's it. We could pay it off, but I have chosen not to right now, and everything. But I don't like monthly bills. I don't like monthly payments. I'll pay things in advance. I want it done. I want to walk freely through my days financially. And that's what I want for you. All right. So I just wanted to jump in here, talk about the student loan freeze. Hopefully that helps. If you have questions, if things are coming up, just like like y'all are, like this question came up, post it in the Affluent Entrepreneur group. Tag me in it. Send me a DM. Let me come online. Let me bring it on the show. Let's have a conversation, and let's keep you moving financially forward. Remember this. I truly believe that financial independence is a birthright. We just need to understand how to claim it. Okay? And financial independence, no matter what age or stage you're at, it is possible. And this is coming from someone that did a lot of the things that you shouldn't. Most of my lessons were learned in the streets. I lost money in bad investments. I got caught in a Ponzi scheme. I ran up credit cards. I overbought and bought stuff that I shouldn't have bought, and I had to get myself out of it. I did all those things, and I learned the lessons the hard way. Well, I'm hoping that we can avoid you learning the lessons the hard way, and that I can help you move through that. So you guys have an incredible Sunday. I gotta go spend a little time with our new puppy, Budo. I keep calling him Budo, which is warrior in Japanese. And he's 11 weeks. And if you can see my arm, I think he thinks I'm a T-bone steak or a chew toy. So we're gonna work with him on not biting and all of that. So, but you guys have an incredible Sunday. If anything comes up, hit me up. Let's have some more conversations. Let's make this happen. And always live a life that outlives you. Cheers to y'all. See ya.